I have like 100 bags of coke in my underwear. There's like
What?
There's like a brick and a half in there. I have like 2 guns that they didn't find, and then I had like a pound of weed that they found too. What are you talking about, purple bag? Because we only sold clear bags. And he was like, yeah, I got some shit. You know, it's hurting my nose, blah, blah. So I'm like, yo,
whoa,
are you sure you called my people? He's like, yeah, and they gave me a new number. And I'm like, what's that number? And so I got that number. I called it, and this dude picked up, my dispatcher. And I'm like, yo, who the fuck is... Oh, word?
Shit.
Done. You done. And so we started operating with that phone that we took away from him. And so that phone was being tapped by the feds.
What?
Lucky Boys Podcast.
And that's a luxury to not have to deal with the exterior shit,
Yeah.
but the interior shit inside your house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when people start looking at your operations, naturally they go, yo, I could do this shit too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or they'll go, man, fuck Coss.
Yeah, she's a bitch.
Did that happen at any point? Or were you also like, was that also good for you?
Yeah, no, that was not good for me. And that's how.
So there was jealousy within, inside your brass?
Yeah, that's how everything went down. That's how I got caught.
Not Joey, right? Joey was your right-hand man?
Joey, yeah, me and him we still tight. I mean, I'm not seeing him every day. He's doing some stupid, crazy shit still, but.
Is he, now you said he went to jail?
He came home. When was it? Late last year.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, he came home late last year. He has his own plumbing company, and he tried to work with me with Combody. Mm-hmm. But his parole officer, well, not his work release officer, didn't allow him to, because we were like co-defendants in a case or some shit, and it was stupid.
So he probably wanted him to keep a space from you in case you guys come up with any smart ideas,
creative ideas. Right?
Who was it? Was it somebody in your inner circle, somebody that you guys were close to?
Yeah.
Or was it just some guy that you hired that said, you know what, let me usurp him?
Nah, it was some dude that we knew for years. Like he lived in 45 Allen. You know what I mean? Like he went to IS 131. You know what I mean? So
somebody that you guys knew your whole life.
We know practically my whole life. You know what I mean? I didn't start hanging out with him till I was like a early teen, maybe 14, 15. But Joey knew him way longer than me. You know, they grew up together, and so he was not a stupid kid. He, went behind our backs to try to start a service behind our back while he was our dispatcher. So at one point, the operation was running so smooth where we had different shifts of drivers. We had 2 dispatchers. We had a condo on the Upper West Side where the dispatcher was like handling all the drugs. He was giving out the 24 packs, the G packs, and then like answering the phone. So basically, like when a driver's like running out, they'll go to the stash spot, pick up the G packs from him, and he's still answering phones and communicating with people. Long story short, he tried to start a new service behind our back. So he takes a phone, he starts stealing our customers. He got his cousin as one of the drivers, and his cousin is handing out the cards to this new phone. And so the cousin doesn't know that, some of the customers are like really old customers that have my personal number. So one guy, Dominic, he hits me up and he's like, yo, buddy, like, I got some like purple bag. I forgot what color he said. And he's like, it's just not the same shit that you guys usually sell. I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about, purple bag? And because we only sold clear bags. And he was like, yeah, I got some shit. It's hurting my nose, blah, blah. So I'm like, yo,
whoa,
are you sure you called my people? He's like, yeah, and they gave me a new number. And I'm like, what's that number? And so I got that number. I called it, and this dude picked up, my dispatcher. And I'm like, yo, who the fuck is... Oh, word?
Shit.
Done. You done. And so I remember going to... We had to connect with the T-Mobile store. It was like one of those, Boost Mobile stores and T-Mobile stores and shit. And so they shut the phone. It was all prepaid phones. So we shut the phones down. I opened up new lines on new phones. And so he had no way of connect. And then I took his phone that he opened up, and I shut that one and opened it up. And so I'm running the services now. Me and Joey are running the services now. Not like
It's all good.
Motorcycle back.
Yeah. Welcome to New York.
Yeah.
We get police sirens, ambulance, motorcycles. Yeah.
It lends to the ambiance.
Yeah.
Wait, so that guy took your business model and essentially mimicked it.
Well, he tried to just steal the customers away from me.
Right.
But he also was trying to, mimic my model where he was like handing out cards. And one of the cards ended up in a federal detective or agent. I don't know, some DT got the card, his card. And so, after we shut him down, and now me and Joey are like not trusting anybody, and I had somebody else like operate the phones that we really trust. Like we started operating with that phone that we took away from him. And so that phone was being tapped by the feds.
What?
And so we're sending our own drivers, because we thought like, he's trying to steal our customers. So every person that has that new number has to be our customer, not knowing that, a Fed ran into that number. He didn't snitch. He didn't tell anybody, but he gave, his cousin gave out a card to some random person that was a Fed, and they had, at the end of the day, we did like 40 sales direct to them. And so it was like a whole year investigation. While the whole thing is going down, one of my drivers bumps into one of the agents, and one of the agents is asking him like, "Hey, I need a large amount of work. Like I want like 50 grams. He said I want 100 grams or something like that. And so anything above 60 grams, you get indicted for like an A1 felony, A2 felony. And so that's what they wanted to trap us. But I never went over single amounts bullshit bags, which couldn't get us more than a C felony at the end of the day. And so one of my drivers went behind my back, got work. I had no idea this was going on. And he sold them, probably like 130 grams. I don't know how much it was exactly, but he went over to some other dude.
How did he even get that much though?
So he knew some other people and some other people.
So it was his own deal then.
Yeah, it was his own deal.
Cut you
but
guys.
he went behind my back to do that deal.
But the Fed is thinking he's connected to you guys.
To me, yeah.
And you're the one that you greenlit it.
Yeah, and I'm getting supposedly that work to me. And so there was this black guy in the case that I had no idea his name was Ty. When we all get locked up, that day we got locked up, I'm seeing this dude and he's like, and this other guy we used to call Sensei, like Sensei used to be like, he started talking to the other guy, Ty, and I'm like, who the fuck is Ty? And he's on the other side of the cell. And he's like, yo, that's my boy. He got caught in this shit up too. And I'm like, what? And then I just started like reading. After a while, I was like locked up and lawyers like telling me like all the information. I'm like, I had nothing to do. I don't know what the fuck was going on there. But how we really got knocked was that, one of my drivers basically told.
A snitch.
So all of that wasn't enough to indict you.
It was enough to like get me on like bullshit case that wouldn't be.
But they would have probably lost because they
would have won, but I would have probably got like 5 years, 3 years the most. Like really they were trying to put me as like a kingpin status.
Okay.
Like almost like Rico. They're trying to get you at Rico, on Rico.
So one of your drivers, so I guess they caught him probably on something, and he didn't want to do a little bit of time.
So he got caught with selling one bag to them.
I knew it. It's always that. They always get him for a little thing.
One little fucking
and
bag. He would have got a fucking
slap on the wrist.
Probation.
Yeah, probation.
And
but he didn't know. He's like, oh shit, I'm scared.
And then he was also an immigrant from the Dominican Republic.
So he didn't know.
So they're threatening him with a deportation. He has a kid over here, family, and all this shit. So he basically told. He said everything. He knew where the stash was at, and I had a stash house in the Bronx. And They came while I was in there. They had a warrant, and they just, it found me with a kilo and a half, all bagged up, and that was it.
Did they catch you? Now, how did they catch you? Were you guys all together at the stash house? Or?
No, how they were catching me was basically I was sending one driver at a time to different destinations. Okay. And so
you had the couriers out.
So I had the drivers out. It was about 10 drivers that night. 8 of them got knocked, and 2 of them didn't.
That night?
That night.
But when you know if none of them are talking to you? Or?
So you remember when the Nextels used to like freeze up and it used to be like, bing.
Yeah.
Beep.
Yeah.
So
if you don't hear that, doo-doo.
Yeah, it was not going through. So I thought it was a problem with Nextel. And so I'm like sending my drivers like, yo, go to 24th and 5th. And then when they would get there, they'd be like, yo, send them out. I'm on the northeast corner, southeast corner, west. That's how we operated. And so I would call the customer back and be like, hey, my guy's on in a blue Impala on the northeast corner on the 24th and 5th, in front of a Rite Aid or some shit. And they'll go out, get in the back of the car, serve them, drive a block, and then that's it. They'll go to the next destination. So I was doing that, and I was sending my drivers, but all of them were like catching that click. And as I was sending them to destination to destination, it just, nobody was getting delivered. So now at this time, it was Thursday night, I had about 40 people, and I had an easel board where I would like just write the first name, last, just keep track, what they bought, blah, blah, blah. And every time I sent somebody, I got that click, and
you just thought it was the network down.
I thought it was the network down.
But they were feds were listening.
And so, the feds were listening, and they were capturing them. So I was sending them to that destination, and then they was just picking them up and shutting their phone down. And so they, at the end of the day, they came and so basically, all right, so this is how it went down. I had all these people to see, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna go out there and make the money myself. So I grabbed like, I don't know, probably like 100 bags from the stash house. I put it in my underwear. I go downstairs. As soon as I open the M3 door, like they just fucking jumped on back of me, and like, well, no, it was so basically there was a detective, Joseph King. I remember this shit like it was yesterday. White dude in the South Bronx. I'm walking out the house, and he says, Coss Marte, and I'm like, who the fuck is you? He's like, there's a DEA drug enforcement agency agent, Joseph King. Your whole operation's over. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So I
turned like, this is prank.
Yeah, because it was one dude. And I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here. So I'm like, I'll bounce. I'm like trying to run. And as soon as I open my car door, they just tackle me behind me. And
where they come from? Like from
they definitely have people
like hidden.
Yeah.
And they took me, and and then when I was out there, they said we have a warrant for the house. They went inside the house. They found, and they were trying to find the shit. I remember.
So they had the warrant when they arrested you already?
Yeah. So they were coming in the house while I was going out, basically.
Wow.
So they were gonna come raid the house, but I was leaving the house.
Right.
And they caught me outside, and then they brought me in, and they were like, yo, we know. They was like, where's the drugs at? And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you talking about. And I have like 100 bags of coke in my underwear. There's like a brick and a half in there. I have like 2 guns that they didn't find, and then I had like a pound of weed that they found too. And so they go inside to the room, and they were like, where's it at? And I'm like, I don't have shit. And so they go to the corner. I had like, I don't know. I when I came home, I had like 500 pairs of Jordans. And so they went to the exact Jordan box where the drugs is at.
What?
Well, how did it stand out in any way?
No.
Damn.
It was like, it was all stacked. There was like the third Jordan box, and like they just pulled it out and opened it. And they were like, we know everything. You ain't got to fucking lie to us.
So they already knew.
And so right away, I'm like, there's only 3 people that fucking know the stash.
Oh.
And so I already knew one out of 3. One person, 2 of them didn't get caught. One person got caught. So I didn't. It was the driver that was in the precinct with me, and we got to Central Brooklyn, so we're all in the same cell. I'm like, yo, who the fuck told? Blah blah blah. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna take all the rap down. I'm gonna take the whole rap. Like, I got caught. Blame. You know, I'm done. You know, this is my 3rd, coke felony. I got caught with drugs in the spot. Like,
at that time, does strike 3 matter here? Like the when Giuliani put that 3 strikes rule?
So they took that rule out, but they were trying to hit me with the life sentence because they had the Rockefeller laws into play.